My pleasure.
Please stay, please stay. Thank you very much, Natasha. Yeah, I think the 32 points are all being snapped as quickly as they can, and hopefully we can share them as well. I like that, social mobility plus connection equals systems change. I think we've still got it's a journey, not a destination, and still an awful lot to do. So Natasha's going to stay with us now, and basically we're going to have a brilliant panel of experts who are really going to dig deeper on the whole question of social mobility and how we can make things different, and really by focusing on wages, training, hiring, community investment, etc., etc. And moderating this session is Tolene van der Merwe, Managing Director of the UK and Ireland for the Malta Tourism Authority, with over 25 years of experience in the travel and tourism sector. So Tolene, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, and I've got my back to you guys. There you go. So we're coming towards the end of a fantastic day. I just want to ask all my panelists to come up, and when you come up, I'm just going to ask you for one sentence once you've sat, just about who you are and what you do, instead of me saying it. Just sit there. Anyway, right. So we'll just start. We'll start from here. Just who you are and some of your key things. I've got it all here, but I'd rather hear it come from you guys.
Beautiful. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Payne, and I'm coming from the United States, from California. I am the Senior Director of Impact and Operations at the Untours Foundation, and we do basically impact investing through our endowment. We also own a travel company. That is our origins, and so we're very focused on driving capital to small tourism businesses around the world. So I manage our overall investment portfolio, and also at a small foundation, wear a lot of other hats too, so a lot of operational things, but yeah, very happy to be here.
Great. Actually, and you say Untours Foundation is the world's first certified B Corp foundation.
Untours was the world's first B Corporation.
Got a shout about
yes,
that.
Thank you. Yes.
Great, Carol.
Hi everybody, my name's Carol. I started a company 3 months before the pandemic in December 2019. We specialize, called Not in the Guidebooks, we specialize in immersive travel, and we are also a B Corp, which is we're very proud of. Our focus is to bring together awesome local hosts who know the places the best, to enable people to connect with local communities through authentic experiences and local boutique premium stays. So really this is about getting people to have these absolute connections who might want to do it in their own way of traveling. So that's what we do.
Great, thank you.
Next. Hello everyone, it's lovely to be here. I'm part of this amazing panel. So I'm Christina Lawford, I'm the CEO and founder of DiamondAir. And I think in prepping for today's session, I realised that I also wear lots of other hats which are actually really relevant to this topic. So I'm on the advisory board with the amazing Alessandra for Women in Travel, and we've developed employability programmes for women. I'm also in my 21st year of working for Crisis, helping people in the homeless sector. I work for another 3 charities in the homeless sector and 2 charities in women, basically in very marginalised, challenging backgrounds, should we say. So I think it's all kind of irrelevant.
Great, thanks. Claire.
So I'm Clare Fenech. I'm from Eurail. So a lot of people go, oh, we don't know Eurail, and then we say, oh, we have the Interrail pass, and then it's like, okay. So yeah, we are the company behind the One Pass to explore 33 countries around Europe by train. Our purpose is evolving. So initially it's to create those connections which leave lasting impressions and more about connections with fellow travellers. But now it's really evolving to create those connections and combat loneliness, but also break down barriers and create connections with locals. So again, there's a nice link with the other panellists. And we are based in the Netherlands. So yeah, came over by train, of course, today to be here. So.
Sustainable. And then we've heard from the lovely Natasha.
Yeah.
So obviously our panel today is about social mobility, and I've got the saying that I love and a lot of people use is tourism is a force for good. And I think tourism can, and we will get into the depths of it, but tourism definitely can create and change those systems and get everyone going and get everyone from one place to another if it's up and down. So I want to jump in to today's questions because I've got loads of them and we don't have a lot of time. But I'm going to start with you, Natasha, and this, everyone can kind of answer this one as well, so travel and tourism sector accounts for 1 in 10 jobs globally and is seen as a driver for social and economic mobility, especially for the women and the youth. So in your view, what are the most significant barriers still preventing the sector from unlocking its full potential for social mobility?
Well, I suppose my mind first jumps to affordability. So I used the Interrail pass when I was 18 and had an amazing time. And you know, it does literally change your life at that age. It sets you on a totally different path, and for that to be accessible for more people would be incredible, wouldn't it? Those experiences, that's where my mind first jumps to.
Anyone else? I mean, Carol, you with the guidebooks?
I think for me it's about meeting different people, and I think it was you who said it, and even in the last panel, where you get so much education and learning life experiences by meeting different people from different cultures, so it's about bringing people together so that they can connect and meet different people across the world in different cultures. That I think is the most important.
Yeah, and I think, also tourism itself can bring people from a different sector into our sector, and I think even if it's just agriculture into tourism, we do Malta, but we do farm tours and stuff now as well, and people are really enjoying that, and local farmers even in Africa and that are able to show what they do to foreigners and tourists and travelers. It's just so unique. So it really does link. I've always got this image of the tree of life or the tree of tourism, where the roots are the smaller the smaller industries that blossom into this beautiful big, and I've got this picture of a lovely oak tree in a lovely green field. But without the tourism, without the travelers, all those industries won't work. And we obviously saw that in what I shall now call is the great pause, COVID, which I got from one of the conferences I was at recently. But we saw that. We saw everything stop, and we saw, women not benefiting much from the world stopping. So I want to so Sarah, from your point, from the Untours Foundation is known for its focus on impact investing and supporting sustainable travel ventures. So how can or do impact-driven funding models help break down barriers for underrepresented groups in tourism? And do you have any success stories that you've seen?
I have so many examples that I can share. I have a very fortunate position in my job of meeting with entrepreneurs on a daily basis who are doing incredible work all over the world, and then I have the difficult job of advancing who is going to receive funding. But we've funded over 40 companies through over $1.2 million since 2023. And so there are so many things that come to mind. And I think to answer the previous question as well, I think one of the biggest barriers is the small businesses that make up 80% of the industry are the ones on the front lines of this impact. They're locally based, often family-run businesses, and a lot of them are already doing this work. They're creating jobs in their local communities, and I think we really have to be driving more resources, not only financial, but I think that is an important one, but some of the social assets that Natasha mentioned, mentorship and all of these things. And I do love that you also called out this interplay of social mobility and systems change, because I think if we do this in an equitable way, we will get to shifting the system when we look at who comprises it. And I also want to highlight early in the conversation, I love the definition that kind of grounded us of what social mobility is. It's individuals' ability to change their situation. And so I think local agency is so important to also kind of highlight local ownership. Businesses that are rooted in communities and welcome travelers there, that want you there, that have chosen this as their pathway to economic development, for example. So, in our portfolio, we have a 100% indigenous-owned eco-lodge. That this is a community in the Ecuadorian Amazon that chose this as the way that they wanted to be economically and socially mobile when they saw what other industries were doing there. And through our portfolio, and I'm already talking a lot with this long-winded answer, but we have companies that, for example, are paying for guide training for underrepresented entrepreneurs in the United States to become guides. We have investees that are giving scholarships so young people from underrepresented backgrounds can explore the world in tourism careers. There are so many examples of just workforce development opportunities that companies offer. So. Again, from my seat, I could continue to go on, but I think there's so many examples, and one of the things that I think we really can do is elevate those case studies and best-in-class examples. How can we replicate them? How can industry players provide more supports there and tell their supply chains, like, this is what we are looking for, and so that we can start to really advance this as a whole industry rather than one-off case studies.
I was just going to say, I think you're so right. I think storytelling is so powerful there, like sharing those stories so people in different places see what's possible and feel what's possible without telling them what to do. It's like showing an example, and then they can take what they want from that story, right? And our brains love stories.
Absolutely. Claire, I'm going to go on to Eurail with making mobility accessible. So how can transport providers like yourselves reduce barriers for travel for marginalised groups? You had a great example when we met earlier. So how for both employees, because we're obviously looking at this from an employee point of view as well as a traveller point of view. But what can you tell us, and any ideas and suggestions?
For sure. So obviously as Eurail, we are the experience provider, so we're not actually the train carriers, but we do provide that accessibility to the train network. And just to say, there's a real desire out there for youth to travel around Europe and experience Europe. So we're working with the European Commission on an initiative called Discover EU. And in the 7 years that it's been running, we've had over 1.5 million applications and nearly 400,000 18-year-olds traveling around Europe. So really breaking down that barriers from the youth generation and opening the eyes. So I think, if companies can really use their position, and if they have the opportunity, look at profit for good, so really how to reinvest, work with foundations, work with charities, to really get those people that couldn't normally maybe afford to travel or have the ability to travel, to support them to do that. But then also from an internal perspective, it's really looking at your values and making sure that your colleagues really know how they can bring your values to life in a day-to-day role. So really breaking down ignorances, really educating people, and then they can really bring that to life. So it's kind of how the inside becomes the outside, and then that ripples onto the customer experience. So we have a big job also as a company with our values starting from the beginning.
Great. Yeah, there's always the comment of start with yourself before starting to fix everyone else, or as my mom used to say, sweep in front of your own door before you sweep in front of others. So Christina, DiamondAir focuses on premium travel services, and that sounds lovely. And you've got so many hats, so let's use a DiamondAir hat. But how do you see the role of luxury and business travel in driving social mobility within that particular sector?
Yeah, so just firstly, just a bit of context, people who don't know DiamondAir, we're basically a premium airport service provider, concierge services from the aircraft, whisking you through. We're in 630 destinations. And I think that from a DiamondAir perspective, we really come at these from quite a macro and a micro level. And I think that, or more internal and external. So I think that when we originally started to build out the network internationally, we were connecting with people, very small organisations within some really, really remote airports. And we were able to actually introduce a market sector, which is essentially what we do now. It's a market sector in the travel industry, and make them realise that actually they could build their own teams and they could build their own revenue streams, which is something we're really, really proud of. So. And these could be really remote airports, so across Africa, Eastern European airports, So not just the big hubs globally. And then sort of internally, we have, development programs in terms of working with organisations that are looking for companies like us that have employability programs. So we can obviously try to give opportunities to more marginalised, in particular women, and we work with, as I said earlier, Elevate Her programme, Women in Travel, as an example.
Great. So we're going to move from kind of the DiamondAir onto not in the guidebooks. I mean, Carol, you champion authentic and local experiences. And I love meeting the locals. We all love meeting the locals. We all enjoy getting to see how everyone lives in different countries. And how do you think our industry, as a tourism industry, can better empower local communities, especially the women and the youth, and kind of become the entrepreneurs and the storytellers?
Well, so this is the bit that I'm really, really passionate about, because
so I'm going to have to keep you time here.
Okay. So for me, the people are, I'm meeting these amazing entrepreneurs who have started up their own businesses, and whether it is, like you say, it might be somebody who is cooking, it might be somebody who's making cheese, it might be somebody who is painting, there's so many different things that they're doing, but they're bringing travel into their business as an additional revenue stream. They're just being so entrepreneurial about it. And what's amazing is that they are, they have so many stories to tell. So when you are actually connecting up travellers, and for us, we talk to a lot of travel agents, this isn't about just doing something good, which you are doing, and that's a bonus, but it's about creating the most amazing experiences when you go on holiday. So what I get excited about it is it's a double whammy. You are providing it's the experiences that people remember. It's not the kind of traveling there or the fantastic places, the accommodation, although we do promote local experiential types of accommodation as part of the trip. But it's really meeting the people that they will go away and remember. And a lot of people are using travel as an alternative revenue source to help them drive their social mobility. So, it is sort of a combination of bringing people together. And in terms of, I think you mentioned storytelling, the second part of that is we deal with a lot of UK travel agents, UK only at the moment, but the aim is to kind of go out there. And it's about showing them how they can share these amazing stories with their travellers, just trying to get them to understand how they can support local communities. So, again, it's not about being charitable, it's about showing them what an amazing time you'll have, and by the way, you'll do good, and eat local, and, work with the local communities. So, it's hard to explain, but it's trying to get people to understand you're helping them build up their little businesses. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
It does. I actually want to elevate on that and go sort of from Natasha, from your organisation, is how can you see our industry taking these smaller companies and entrepreneurs? I know in South Africa we had a lot of ladies on the side of the road creating these beautiful bangles and bracelets and stuff, and people love them because they're beautiful and colourful, but not knowing how to promote themselves and not getting that kind of elevation into, actually, I can sell these for more than, I don't have to negotiate because people want them. So how can we do this? And I think, again, from the entire panel, it'd be really great to just understand from your side, apart from just sending the tourists there, how else can we do this? What tools do we have to create?
I think the bangle example is really tricky, and I've thought about it a lot myself. It's like to kind of encourage and enable people to sell those goods so that the economic resources are flowing back into the places that we're visiting requires a little bit of bending people out of shape to fit our cultural preferences and the way that we do things. So I think that's really, really tricky. But when I was kind of preparing for this discussion, and I'm so sorry, beautiful lady in green, Carol. So sorry. When hearing about your work, I felt so inspired to think about it's really about like genuine connections. So it's about sending people, some of whom might be quite powerful in their little worlds where they, where they run an organisation or they run a team. If they go to different parts of the world and they have like authentic experiences, connecting with real people and caring about them, they become agents of change themselves. And I think that's that aspect, and really hats off to you for your work. I really get it, and I can imagine it's quite hard
It is really
to articulate
hard.
why it's so powerful.
And sometimes it's so hard because a lot of people go, oh, I love what you're doing, but I don't think I'm going to go for the local. There was one example, I think it was in Costa Rica, and they said, I love the whole itinerary, but I don't really want to go and do this cooking session with a woman in her own home. They were almost a bit awkward about it. And actually, these people want to do it, they want to share, they're growing the thing. Yeah. And what ended up happening is they came back and said, it was the best thing about it. It was what I loved.
You've just touched on also where I was going, because I think we have such a habit, maybe as humans, maybe as British humans, but we just think everything, we're so egocentric and so Eurocentric. And we think, that kind of idea that somebody goes to a foreign place and they call everyone there foreign, and it's like, no, darling, you're the foreigner.
Driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah. You're the foreigner, and like that's okay. So I think being able to visit people where they are, because Claire was reminding me of my trips around Poland with Interrail, and you meet people where they are in their homes and in their local communities. There's like a very important shift of perspective and power that I truly believe in, and I really understand and support everyone's passion. So I think that. Yeah.
Can I say one very quick thing? I also think, I know this sounds really kind of big and a bit kind of, but I think it will help stop wars. I think it's that big that it will help stop wars. Because, I went on the most amazing experience in Colombia, and I was just blown away because I went with this guy who was an ex-paramilitary, and I would say this very, very quickly because to prepare myself for the trip, I actually watched Narcos, which my husband turned around to me and said, what? And I went on this trip, and this guy was a bird watcher. He's a paramilitary turned bird watcher tour guide. And I kind of felt a bit uncomfortable about going in, not because I was worried, because I was taken with the ambassador, but just kind of a bit, is it? And he absolutely loved himself. They put their guns down. They are now creating these tours, and they are working side by side with with local villagers where they were fighting with each other, and now bringing back tourism to Colombia. And my point is, and where I started this that many years ago with my children, not wanting them just to be sitting by a pool, is to say by meeting the people, you become so much more tolerant. You are inspired by these people.
And you care about them as well. Like, so then if you visited, let's say, a rural part of Poland and you had an amazing time, and then, sorry to bring it up because I know it breaks all of our hearts, but then if you witness a sort of, slightly racist incident or something, you become... You really know how to challenge it and support other people to change their minds. And that's kind of what I mean when I say you become an agent for change and having more solidarity and warmth and empathy.
And coming back to what you were saying about the parents, I think it's our duty to take our children to get them to witness it.
I was thinking that as well after I said, young people. I think also like allowing people to go and experience things as families is, extra win-wins kind of baked into it.
Great. So I think kind of moving on to now as organizations and ourselves, so we've spoken about how the traveller, getting them to experience the local activities, etc., to create that. But within your organizations, Sarah, so what role does social entrepreneurship play in creating the upward mobility within your organizations, the various different ones that you deal with, the foundations, and so that we can all get benefits from tourism?
Yeah, so for us as investor, there are a lot of things that we can do to promote social mobility. So obviously I named some of our portfolio companies that are all doing great work. So when we drive capital there, it's a vote for that. And we can also help with capacity building. And again, to the Bengal example, it's bringing people along to the formal economy if that's what they choose. So it could be upskilling, local entrepreneurs and local artisans that, want to join the formal economy. And we have partners like the TUI Care Foundation, who does a lot of great technical assistance work as well. Also, as an investor, we can create investment mechanisms that create social mobility, quite frankly. When we invested in an eco-lodge in Zambia, we actually lowered our rate of return. Basically, we get a revenue share from this eco-lodge. We voluntarily lowered it so that they would increase profit sharing among their employees that they were hiring. So those are things that you can do from a position of privilege, being the capital provider. You can incentivize some of these things. In terms of social entrepreneurship, I think it's honestly one of the most powerful vehicles that we have. I think women are particularly good at it. I think we're so good at seeing what somebody else would classify as a problem and seeing it as an opportunity. There's an example of a company called Wear Sauce in Costa Rica that they take Southwest Airlines retired airline seats, they upcycle them into amazing bags and passport holders, and they didn't stop there. They are actually employing rural women from Turrialba, Costa Rica to make the bags and providing not only fair wages, but wraparound supports to meet them where they're at, to work through things like behavioral health. So social entrepreneurship is just this incredible thing that can truly change lives at a micro level and individual level, and I do think it can start to shift systems as well when we support that, both with our capital and as travel industry players, when you integrate those kind of companies into your supply chain and you bring people there on experiences. This Wear Sauce, they actually now are bringing tour groups there and students to see, like, look at this incredible model of a circular economy that creates social and economic mobility. So I think there's so many ways that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina, what responsibility do you think premium service providers have in supporting diversity and inclusion, not just among the clients, but also within the workforce and supply chains? What do you think about that?
Huge responsibility, in short, but I think that there is perhaps, it's perhaps a little bit stereotypical maybe, that companies that, just because a company provides an exclusive service doesn't mean to say they can't be inclusive. And I think maybe there's a stereotype that, people that serve 7-star services in, private jets or, looking after high net worths have to be a certain way. And actually, we need to encourage the change. And so by really sort of casting the net, being more creative about where we're recruiting from, and what organisations we're engaging with, be it with charities or organisations that are looking for employability programmes. You're going to get talent, and you're going to get some incredibly resilient and appreciative people into those roles. But I think that, as an organisation, I think Premium really needs to show that it might be an exclusive service, but we are inclusive as well. More needs to be done.
Yeah, that's great. So I can segue with this with Claire. Within your role within Eurail, what HR policies or training initiatives have you found most effective in promoting career progression for women and minorities within the various organisations you've worked, but also in your current role?
Yeah, so I'll do a bit of a Carol. This is something I'm super passionate about. So I had a whole list, so I had to put it down to a few bullet points. But I think, when you start with recruitment, you do need to look beyond your front door. So it takes a lot of effort in the start, but it's worth the wait. So yes, your ideal candidate might be on the other side of the world, but if they can really bring in that talent, then it's worth the wait. But also, it doesn't need to be just senior roles that we that relocate. So for example, I did an internship while I was at university, because my university had that connection with these leisure providers. So once you get in that rhythm, you can actually start to hire, even for temporary roles, from all around the world. But also make sure that the language is really inclusive in your recruitment. Does your job advert say you need a degree? Do you need 5 years experience? When in reality, you don't. You just need the passion and a chance. So it's really doing that audit on your profiles, on your job adverts, and your recruitment process to make sure that it's really accessible for all.
Well, I was just thinking sometimes it's about if someone's lack of experience is a bit scary, maybe sometimes it's about thinking what attributes could that person have that make you feel quite safe. So, certain characteristics that we might have that are, softer, you know, characteristics and personality traits that make you feel, safe in someone's hands, even though they're
Exactly, and it doesn't need to just be the traditional give your CV and have an interview, because a CV doesn't tell a lot. So it's making sure you give those opportunities. But then something we're super proud of at Eurail, so our philosophy is really flexible policies. So you need policies so that there's that consistency and that fairness, but there's a lot of flexibility in them. And then we have these guidelines. So for example, for training, everybody has a personal training allowance. So we don't have a budget per department, it's a budget per person, and they own that allowance. And it means that they can then look at their personal development at their own speed, look at what their needs are. So is it coaching for confidence, or is it a technical course that you need to go on? And it kind of takes away from the manager having to see, okay, who shouts the loudest, how shall I divide this budget? And it really gives everyone that freedom to choose what they need. So indirectly, then the women or the underrepresented, they can really see what they need for them. So that's the approach we take with a lot of our policies, actually. So flexible working as well. We start with, what hours do you want? So yes, it's definitely about the company needs, and we need roughly these hours. But what hours do you want? What shift can you do? Rather than kind of get someone in and then they feel really bad because they have to put a flexible work request in. So it's just having those conversations at the very beginning.
Yeah. I love the budget per person, not the budget per training. I find that really hard as a manager to kind of look and go, oh, everybody needs to be able to do public speaking, because myself and two of my colleagues do public speaking, so everyone needs to do it. Not everyone is comfortable in it. So I really like that view. That's really great. So naturally, we have spoken about tourism creating jobs, and that's great. But it can also exacerbate inequalities and social exclusion if not managed thoughtfully. So how can industry leaders balance the growth with social responsibility? And I think, Carol, you might jump in on this one.
So, well, I think that there's some, concerns with exploitation, and there are certain things that I know, throughout working with various types of small local communities, that you get things where, for instance, orphanages, we never take people to go and see and visit people with the orphanages, because they're taking children away from families in order to kind of bring in revenue, tourism revenue. So I think what is really, really important is to understand where there's potential for exploitation and ensure that you've got safeguards against that. And I think really what you're looking at is trying to make sure that this is not a show, that this is really authentic, that you're not, it's horrible to kind of take tourists to an area where they're putting on some kind of dress, some kind of show for the tourists, and I don't want to be that privileged Western woman going in there to see the local people. So it's got to be authentic, and I think the only way you get through that is by having conversations with the local people. And this is why I love actually working with local, small local operators, because they're the ones who are working with you to decide who are you going to go and see, who is going to promote their offerings to the tourists. It's not us coming into them, it's them saying, these are the people we're working with who actually want to provide this, this and this. So to me, it's about having a conversation and co-creating it with the local communities.
Yeah.
Again, does that answer?
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Floor's open.
Well, I was just going to come in and say, I mentioned affordability already. I think things like partnerships to make travelling opportunities more available, more accessible is fantastic. I also wonder if, sometimes as the visitor, we don't perhaps know how to behave. How do you do that authentic connection appropriately? And I wonder if a bit of guidance from, I don't know who is the authority, but maybe from a collective within the travel and tourism industry could really help. This is what good looks like, and we don't like these behaviours. And then people do have quite a good way of slightly policing themselves, don't they? If we've got that sort of standard you know, what's a good way to go into a community as somebody with more power and more privilege, and how do you appropriately build connection? If we know that, then people can probably do quite a good job of policing each other, and somebody come back from their trip and they'll be like, well, no, I don't like that. You're not supposed to do that. And we can kind of, yeah. Does that sort of make sense? There's a sort of cultural policing that we do automatically through gossip.
And I think a lot of people want not just to know how to behave appropriately, but travel agents want to be able to provide that information. So it is about sharing, going back to your point about storytelling, but also sharing best practice.
Yeah.
I think giving people accessibility. So I'm going to this place, you know, what do I have to be aware of? What do I have to be careful of? What clothes should I wear? What's appropriate to wear? What's appropriate to say, not say?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think stories over formulas sometimes, because we can come up with it like the perfect formula rather than actually just sharing a few stories is a better way to get that information across.
And I think responsibility and best practices plays a huge part here, because I mean we're obviously very close to the aviation industry. And there's some very big organisations in there, but when you look at the supply chain of perhaps airlines within airports, they want services at ridiculous rates, but then they're banging on that they want people to be paying minimum salaries. You go, well, how does that work? So I think there's got to be responsibility and a reality that, having people employed, there is a responsibility to pay them fairly and to pay them well and make sure they've got all the benefits and their career development and all this kind of good stuff that people want to see within their suppliers. And they have to realise that it doesn't come for 50p. So,
yeah, Sarah, you had a...
Yeah, I wanted to sort of double click on what Carol, you were saying, because I do think local communities know best. And I think in terms of if we're not trying to perpetuate existing inequalities and really transform systems, I think we need to think about like where's the wealth in the industry. And Alessandra encouraged us to be bold, so I will say that. I think a lot of the big travel corporates, we're fortunate to be partnered with them. They see the opportunity to again drive capital and drive resources to the small community-based, locally owned businesses, which is so important if we don't want it to continue, with some of the harms that tourism has, and it does. Local communities know best, and the businesses that originate within them. And again, I come back to agency. If they have chosen tourism as their method of social mobility, then absolutely drive resources there. If they want upskilling, do that. If they're looking for capital, make it accessible and give them flexible terms, make it affordable, and incentivize some of the impact that we want to see with that. So I just can't underscore enough that it's the small, locally based tourism businesses that if we can continue to elevate them, integrate them into our value chain, regardless of what type of business you are, I think we could really see transformation.
That also is from a gender point of view, because whilst you're doing amazing work, ultimately women get 2% of funding. So there needs to be something where people aren't, I'm not talking about you, but where people aren't just talking about it, but they're actually doing something about it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the majority of companies in our portfolio are women-owned or underrepresented owned, and absolutely, I think we've touched on a variety of things today of why maybe women we don't maybe advocate or we don't know the systems inside and out, because I think the patriarchy is a big part of our financial system. And so how do we also democratize knowledge to that? How do we go out of our way and cultivate a pipeline of companies that they may not come to us banging on the door, but we know that they would be a good investment. We don't have a lot of strict requirements to access our funding. In fact, our goal is to be the friendliest investor that a company can have. So we are trying to go out of our way and make it really accessible to the people that are maybe, quite frankly, new. Often we're the first time a company has taken on a loan or taken on an equity investor. And it's incredible to be part of that journey. Greet Her is an amazing Latina-owned business based in California. They went through an Expedia accelerator, and we were fortunate to be able to make an investment into the company. And we need more of that. We need more of that.
So we need more of that, but what metrics or indicators should the industry be using to measure the progress in social mobility and inclusion, just beyond job numbers? What what is there that we can actually use? That's probably one of the toughest questions, right?
Difficult one.
Sorry, guys. It's probably something that we could probably open later on, but I think we really need to think about, we want social mobility, and beyond job creation, beyond tourist arrivals, what is it? What is it? Natasha, you've got me.
Sorry, got my sharp inhale. I'll make a small point. I just think that it's great when we can measure things and it's very satisfying and it gives us a sense of control. But when we're not able to measure things, it doesn't mean that they somehow didn't happen or aren't important. And I see that a lot in our work. So, we support charitable organisations. A lot of what we're doing is helping them capture and evaluate their impact. So, keeps us busy, keeps me in a job. But sometimes you really are just capturing the obvious. And, so I think I would just encourage us to also maybe move culturally to think a bit about it. If we can't measure it, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. And sometimes we can trust a logic model and stories.
And in some respects, even helping one person.
Stories.
Just even helping one person is better than not doing anything at all. I mean, how do you can't really put a value on helping someone in terms of social mobility or develop in terms of their progress and their career. So yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think it's all about measures.
So I love a metaphor, and my metaphor is, and I've looked at this in very like sustainability and accessibility and stuff within what I do. You look at the bigger picture and you think, oh God, I'm not doing anything. Nothing's happening. There's not enough happening. But if you take each little bit, you can build a really big brick wall. Yeah. And not obviously for anything other than just looking at it, going, wow, that is actually there's a lot. So. If you take the smaller bits and you keep a note of it, you keep it on a mood board or whatever it is, it's actually just really nice to see.
But can I just add as well, the metric is there to give you some guidance in the beginning, but actually you need to deep dive into that metric. So, I talked about training, for example. So you can run a metric of how many people have gone through the training, but also you need to look at who hasn't and then why, and have that conversation with them as to why and what is the barriers that you can break down. So the metric is just the starting point.
Yeah. Okay, so we're running out of time. I wanted to just quickly ask you, I want to put this out to you. Today, I want to ask all of you a bold action that you want to take to do social mobility. Think about it. You don't have to tell us now. You can put on your social media and hashtag IWTTF. But what do you want to do in the next year to grow someone, to help someone, to drive social mobility within your organization, within yourself, and commit to it and put it out there and share it throughout the year and let us know how you're doing. But I think if you could tell your younger self something just quickly, what would it be for where you are today? What would you tell your younger self to do or not do?
Shall we go in order?
I think we go in order, quick.
Great question. Self-belief is so important, and you have much more ability to impact the world around you than you realize, right? You can press against the bubble and it will move. And so I think surrounding yourself with examples, I think of an entrepreneur named Zakia from Invisible Cities, she's training individuals who have experienced homelessness to become walking tour guides of their cities. Like, there are just so many things that it's like, spot a problem and then you can be the one to do something about it. So yeah, and self-belief to do that.
I would just say, push yourself out of your comfort zone. When you're traveling, go out there and search, go out of the main hotspots, search for things that really get you to get under the skin of the place you're visiting, and then share it with people. Tell them, the amazing stories, and if we can share our stories, it will help demonstrate how other people should do that.
Got the platforms to share. You
share the stories.
Christina?
I would probably tell myself, you're mad to start this business at 18.
But look how amazing you've done.
But I think that, it's really about staying authentic, deciding what your purpose is, because it's so much bigger than just a business and the money and the profit and all that good stuff. It's really about, if you've got a platform to make a difference, then you've got responsibility, and you should really, really make a positive difference. Yep. So I think, keep to your values and your purpose, use that as your North Star, and just keep building.
Great. Claire?
Yeah. So definitely slow travel. So we're embracing slow travel off the beaten track. But then on a more personal note, it's really use those hard times to learn from and pass down your knowledge, and surround yourself with people that can help build you up, so that then you can help those that need it.
Yeah. Natasha?
Yeah, I kind of feel like not too many regrets. Like I ran around like a maniac trying to gather experience and knowledge, and I'm so grateful to younger me for doing that. So thank you for doing that, younger me. But maybe what I would say to her is like, enjoy yourself a bit more. If I could have known where things were going to end up and trusted the process, that would have been great.
Great.
Excellent.
All yours, Jo.
Thank you very much. Please stay here.
Thank
Brilliant. Wonderful things. Turning problems into opportunities, I think, is great. We are now going to come back to you for Slido. And then the panel might come back to you if we've got time as well. So in your view, no, that's the wrong one. Does your organisation currently offer career development programmes aimed at disadvantaged or underrepresented groups? Does your one would hope that a lot of them probably here do. No. Interesting. Okay. So does your organisation currently offer career development programmes aimed at disadvantaged or underrepresented groups? Yeah. Yes, comprehensive programmes. No, and no plans yet. Some. So we're manoeuvring around here. Yes, some efforts. Yes, comprehensive programmes. No, and no plans yet. No, but we plan to. Okay, any comments from anybody on the panel there, from any of those?
My only comment would be this seems to be very directed towards big companies, and when you think about small companies, it's about what you can do that levels the playing field maybe at the start, because I would love to offer career development programs aimed at disadvantaged people, but I don't offer career development programs for anybody. Yeah. So it's more about what can you do and how can you level the playing fields, I think.
Or it would be great for it to be funded by, like, Kickstart was a big thing, you know, where it's the government funding it to help small businesses.
Carol, you need to get you to write the questions next time. Okay, any thoughts or questions from the audience? Okay, we'll move on to the next question if we could. So in your view, what is the most effective way to advance social mobility for women and gender diverse individuals in the travel and tourism industry? If we can then show this one. Targeted leadership and mentorship programs, equal access to education and training, transparent promotion and pay practices, family-friendly and flexible work policies, gender-focused investment in local entrepreneurship. So your views on what is the most effective way to advance social mobility for women and gender diverse individuals in the travel and tourism sector? So it seems to be jumping around a bit.
Isn't it?
Yes, we'll let a few minutes for it to come through.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. It's especially exciting when technology works. That's even more exciting. So equal access to education and training seems to be coming up there, but targeted leadership and mentorship programs, gender-focused investment in local entrepreneurship, inclusive hiring from underrepresented communities. So it seems to be sort of equal access to education and training and targeted leadership in mentorship programs. Anybody got any comments on that? And again, if you've got any questions in the audience or comments, then please do raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you as well, which would be great. Any thoughts on that?
I think the targeted leadership mentorship programs is good that it's creeping up, because I think at the end of the day we know that there is a lack of women in senior positions, and I think to encourage more women as well into the travel and tourism industries, we need to show that there is advancement in those senior roles being taken by women. So.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yes,
and I would maybe argue against that, because we have the equality or equity. So equality is giving everyone the same platform, but actually some people might need a more tailored platform. So it's more about the equity over equality. So yeah, tailoring it so that people can get into the training program, because you can say, okay, there's this training, there's a grant for it, but actually not everyone can access it, not everyone can do it in the hours it's available. So it's really looking again at the flexibility.
How it's flexed.
Yeah.
So there's greater equity. Yeah, Sarah.
Yeah, one of the award winners last night was Women's Work. It's a tourism accelerator
Yes.
For women and non-binary entrepreneurs. And I think that is such an amazing example of this equitable access. They have funding partners that provide scholarships, so everyone can join this cohort, get a lot of industry knowledge about how to start your own tourism business and how to grow your tourism business. So
Yep.
I just highlight that as a fantastic example of not only having the training and education, but making it accessible to a variety of people.
Great, good points, good point. Any questions or comments from people in the audience at all? No? Okay, good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. That's great. That's great.